So, I watched Until Dawn, the movie based on the video game that doesn't really do what the video game does. Movie directed by what's his name? Was it David Sandberg? He did the Shazam movies. He did Annabelle. Like he's really good at doing horror. And this movie was, like all right. You know, I mean, Until Dawn came out like 10 years ago, and I remember watching like those the big YouTube gamers play it. Like Markiplier, all his friends, Jacksepticeye, all those dudes. I remember watching them play it, and not having a PS4 at the time, I was like, oh man, that's cool. I would love to play that one day. 10 years later, you know, am I a gamer? No, I'm not. Yeah, the person who streams on Twitch like 5 times a year. Yeah, what do I stream? Movies, anyway. Um, so yeah, that's. I know that was a lot of people's like issues when the trailer dropped because they're like, this is nothing like the game. They're like the settings not the same, the characters aren't the same. Like why is this a Groundhog's Day movie? You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. When I watched the trailer, I was like, "Ooh, this is not it," because it's not. It definitely feels like it feels very like I don't want to say in name only, but kind of thing because this movie does kind of like tie in a lot of the stuff in the games. And I mean, God, do I even have to say spoiler alert? Like, how many people actually watch this movie? I feel like most people just got upset that from the trailer this movie didn't look like the game and they didn't see it. So who cares? I'm gonna go into spoilers, whatever. Um, so yeah, like what you call it? So yeah, let me just talk about this as a movie itself and not keep comparing it to the game or lack thereof. Um, so yeah, this kind of does a little bit of you know, Friday the 13th remake slash, Evil Dead remake, whatever you want to call it. Like the thing where they're like, something happened to someone I love, and a year later or whatever, I'm going to go and find them. I've grieved enough. A year later, I'm going to go, kind of thing. So, they go, they stop at like this, gas station because that was like the last like video the sister sent, like guys, and I love how in the movie like it was just kind of like I just need to move on for mom, and it's like so you just like fucked off into like like a Silent Hill type of town, like girl, that's not how you grieve and move on from a dead parent. Like I don't know about you, but when my dad died, there was not a lot of easy to move on. It was just like, look at all these bills I suddenly acquired. Fuck. I don't know. I didn't just like fuck off and was just like, yeah, let me just. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I did go to Japan. I did fuck off and go to Japan. I needed it. I needed to like clear my head. Anyway, let me not. But anyway, so but yeah, like she just like goes missing. I went to Japan. I didn't go missing. So shut up. um. So like she goes missing, and then of course the sister, and then like the ex boyfriend and the friend of the blah, blah whatever the weird dynamic they got going on there, and then the one Asian friend who was like, "I'm a psychic medium," and it's like, okay, girl. So they go, and in the gas station, of course, it's what's his name, Pete, the Swedish guy who always plays freaking Russian dudes. He was also in the game. So when they went to the convenience store and he popped up, I went, oh, well, you know what I mean? When you watch a movie, especially like a horror film, and I mention this a lot with Marvel movies, and you go and there's like an innocuous character, but it's played by someone you've seen before, probably in a sense bigger name than like the main cast. You're like, I wonder if this person's part of the movie. I wonder if this person's gonna show up later. I wonder if because they casted his fucking face again. He was in the game. I wonder, So I love how, the girl's like, have you seen my sister? Have you seen my sister? And he's like, I've been working here every year. It's been kind of like probably a lot of people come by. I don't know, man. Like my friends and I, we've done road trips. We don't, I don't know, we've never gone off the beaten path kind of stuff. Because even when we like find a rest stop, if the rest stop ain't looking hot, we leave. We were like, you know what? Like, how much gas we got? Okay, we're still good. I can hold on to the P kind of thing. You're like, we're gonna still keep going. Like definitely when we were like going down like to Atlanta, we're like, okay, this is a very dark road, like pitch black kind of road, like insane. And then it's like the truck stop is like so bright, and we're like, well, I guess as long as we go in, pee, get whatever we need to get out, and we get the fuck out, I don't know. That's just not what we do. But but we also don't go and be like, we've gotta go look for something. Like, no, man. Like, I'm sorry. If I knew someone who was like, I have to go fuck off in a Silent Hill town or whatever to find myself, I don't know, to like feel myself, whatever. I'm bye. Like, I don't need to be around that anyway. So they get to like there's like a wall of like water, like fucking insane, all that stuff, and they're like, we're gonna crash, man, we're gonna crash. And they pass through it, and it's just like it's dry. So of course it's just raining around this house, the visitor center, and nothing else. And it's like, okay, I mean, I've experienced that before, where literally like I'm here and it's dry and I can literally see it rain, and it is so crazy to experience like where like it cuts off. It happens a lot of times when you cross like the Verrazano from Staten Island to Brooklyn, where you cross the bridge, and then like as you're crossing the bridge, you're doing like that crazy like that tight turn into like Brooklyn, and you're suddenly like, this is fucking dry as hell here. What the hell? Or some days you're on like, the Turnpike or Parkway in Jersey, and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. But, like, but obviously in this one, it was very much like, nah, like, it's like, they looked around and they're like, huh, that's weird how just around us it's raining and not, like, you're like, come on, guys, come on. Of course, the dude was like, I'm not gonna drive through that again. I don't know. Do it, pussy. Have your high beams on and drive there. That wasn't even that bad. Like, when my friends and I, we went to freaking Ohio for Horror Hound, there was like that, it was like 3 in the morning, and it was like such a wall of like water. If Paul wasn't driving like right behind a truck that kind of like helped cascade, most of the water, and we were just like following this truck going 36 miles an hour. Like, that's how crazy, like, we were like going pretty fast before, but when the rain hit, and it hit like boom, like that kind of shit, immediately was like, we're gonna, and the rain was so heavy on the car, it sounded like gunfire. It just sounded like gunfire outside. So I'm like, okay, dude, the rain you had, just put on your high beams, and they're still light out. Drive. I would have done the same, but again, different. I wouldn't have done this whole like, this place is in the middle of nowhere, let's check it out. No, they go inside and they're like, oh, this place is kind of, oh, I think it said like 1994 or something on there. They're like, this place hasn't been in, they see like a visitor book or something, and they're like, oh, there's no water in the bathroom or some shit like that. And of course there's like this weird clock with the hourglass and stuff. You're like, sure, and then of course shit happens when the girl like when she writes her name, and that's like how the Groundhog's Day thing starts. And then, one by one, they die, and then they come back, and then you're like, oh my god, and then you're like, all that stuff. So it's just kind of Groundhog Day, and they remember most days, but not all. And even in towards the end of the movie, where the one guy, the guy who was driving, like, pulled up his phone and was like, oh shit, I recorded some stuff. That probably was the best stuff in the movie, was the stuff the dude recorded on his phone. Just because it's like, yeah, it was kind of, it was found footagey, but maybe it would have been better if this movie was found. I don't know, just because like how this director's really good at that kind of like, oh, shit kind of stuff, So I don't know. That stuff was probably like the best, because you see in the trailer where the girl like had that thing out of her face. She's like, is there something on my face? And you're like, ah, Yeah, like the last like third of the movie, once like they're like, you know, they've gone down to like it's 13 days. You're only allowed to like freaking survive 13 days, or unless you become the Wendigo kind of stuff. And it's like, all right, you know. And again, when they look through the footage, and it's like, all right. And then the Asian girl had like survived the night because she didn't like come back like everyone else did. So they're just like, we gotta go find blah 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 blah, you know. And as a movie itself, it's all right. You know, it's like, you know, Happy Death Day and all those other like horror movies that kind of, or movies in general that kind of do the Groundhog's Day thing. It's fine. It's an interesting like take and idea of like horror because you're just repeating the day or night, all that stuff. Funny enough, when the one character literally said, "Well, I guess we have to like survive until dawn," when he said when he said the title, my you know my stream of it just started buffering, and I was like, he's like, "Oh, we gotta survive until dawn," and I was like, are you serious right now? I just had to hit refresh, and then it was fine. But it was just like, really, am I being fucked with? Um, but yeah, like as an adaptation of the game, I'm like, ugh. The only reason I was okay, I ended up giving it, I think, like 3.5 stars, and the only reason why I gave kind of like that extra half, really, this movie probably would have been a 2 star, but I gave it that extra like star and half, whatever math, was like at the end, once like everything like was done and everyone survived, and the security cameras went from like that visitor center, and it flickered to a snowy cabin. Like the game. So I was like, okay, and then you see like an SUV pull up, and I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna chalk this up to a prequel to the game kind of thing. Like, fine. You know, maybe they do it differently. You know, whatever, you know? Also, there's, you know, like the connections where, like I said, that guy, he plays a similar character to the game. He is a doctor, but not. So in the game, obviously, he was like Rami Malek's character is like psychologist and all psychiatric therapist. And so whatchamacallit. So here he's just like a crazy motherfucker who's just like, he's like, I'm doing this experiment. How the experiment works, how he doesn't get stuck in the time loop, like how other people aren't stuck in the time, like how, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like, sure, man, I'm gonna give you that, you know? And you do see Rami Malek's face, like, in one of, like, the files. You're like, oh, okay, kind of thing. Like I said, I'm thinking this is a prequel, to the game. Because even I think, like, the gas station, place was named after one of the guys in the game, so sure, why not? Um, but yeah, like, as an adaptation for the game, I was very much like, ooh, this is not, you know, because like the game doesn't allow you to start over, you know? So it's kind of weird to do a Groundhog's Day thing when this game is just like, you made that choice, you can't go back. It's like a Telltale game. It's, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, you made that choice. You walk down this corridor instead of this corridor. Well, you got eaten by the Wendigo, so now like lesser your friends have survived. You know? I mean, I am shocked that, you know, they all survived. You know what I mean? Because they did say at one point, they're like, one of you will die and some of you, you know, like, sure. I mean, fine. Um, but yeah, like, I love that the movie did have practical effects and a lot of like in-camera effects, so that was also great. I feel like because of stuff like that, because this director knows what he's doing with certain things like that, like in-camera effects, practical effects, and knows how to like make a scary moment scary, you know, that it like made this movie like a little bit better to watch, like more watchable, I guess would be, you know. Oh my god, that scene where they all like drank the tap water and all started to explode. I was fucking cracking up because first of all, they're like, oh, the water, it doesn't work, and he turns on, it's brown for a second, and then okay, let me just sip on this water, and I was like, no, we don't have that. You don't have that like tri-state area water. Don't drink the tap water if you don't have the tri-state area water. Don't drink the tap. Oh no, you know. But then like sip. That was really funny. yeah, so everyone exploding was funny because then like I love how that's like the thing. So I love how like the guy doesn't somehow isn't part of being repeated over and over again, but he's affected by the things where like she pushed the glass over to the coffee and he sips the coffee and it's like, oh, I have water in it. Oh no, now I exploded. I don't know. It's like I don't I don't know, man. Like I was really excited when I heard that. Oh god, my hair. I was really excited when I heard that this director was doing an Until Dawn movie. I'm kind of with like how they went with it. Again, like I'm not expecting to be one to one with the game because the game itself is kind of like a playable movie, you know. Again, kind of like Telltale games where you're just kind of like playing a video kind of stuff like that. Oh, it's a video game. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like you're just playing a movie in a sense. So I get that they didn't want to do it exactly, but I don't know, man. Like I don't know what they could have done to make it more like the game, or I don't know, audience participation, like Netflix with was it Black Mirror when they did Bandersnatch or something? I think they had to remove that because the new UI in Netflix doesn't allow it to work or something stupid like that. But anyway, but yeah, I don't know like how that would have worked out. Like I said, I only was happy like at the end when I noticed like the snowy cabin. I was like, all right, well, that's the game, you know. Um, but yeah, like the whole like, oh man, it's well, I mean, they still did the whole like mining thing that the game had, because there's something about again, it's always something about mines and Silent Hill, and everything comes back to Silent Hill. I feel like a parent. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.